Welcome to Indie Game Spotlight, where we delve into indie games, lift the hood on their mechanics and settings with the actual creator of the games. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and drop us a comment. It will help us all with the algorithm and allow us to reach more people about these amazing indies. Today, I'm just super excited to welcome back Richard Whitters to Indie Game Spotlight to catch up on the development for Ruttigers. If you haven't checked out the first interview, then check it out in the description of this one. Welcome, Richard. Love to see you again today.
Hey, good to see you again. This is a sleepy time meetup because we're all tired because we're all making indie games.
Absolutely true. That is a very good way of describing it. We're all working this hour, and we're just all like, I need a nap.
Yes, it's a Saturday, but we rarely get to stop. And
Once we both get our games done, we'll make a new indie tabletop game about napping.
Yes. Live the fantasy, get 8 hours sleep.
You know something? I think people would back it. Let's do that. Let's do it now. Oh, can you imagine? You'd have to move around your schedules.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off
Roll
your
for that
phone.
emergency meeting.
Yes. The random encounter tables are, an emergency live stream creeps into your schedule.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, I think we should. I think we could do a great comedy one. That would be so much fun, Richard. I'm writing it down. We're going to meet up on that one.
Right.
I'll do that. That might be a one-page TTRPG.
I think it would be a zine, just like one pager. There you go.
Yeah.
One page backed up with like 30 pages of random tables.
Yes, exactly.
Everything that could go wrong. Cat knocks over this. Dog eats this. Oh dear. I've now completely forgot what we were going to talk about. We're talking about Ruttigers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
we have our backer kit is up, but we haven't launched yet.
No. Shall we have a look?
Yeah, we're still about 2 weeks.
Yeah, 18 days. When this goes live, it'll be 15 days before you go live. So for anybody watching, listening, that's 2 weeks to take advantage of some really good deals here.
Look at this. Look at that countdown. That must be really exciting to watch, Richard.
It is. Me and like I've told you before, well, Andrew 𝗘𝗫𝗖𝗓 from 𝗂𝗽𝗓 Publishing is helping us with like the backer kit and the fulfillment and all that. But mostly I've been working on it with 3 of my old friends. And we meet on Sundays. I say meet. We have like a phone call on Sundays and talk through stuff. And it's so cool just to watch it like tick down. And it's like, woo! My friend Pat messaged me just the other day. He's like, "Are you excited?" And I was like, "I'm super swamped trying to get everything done." I think I'm excited. But it's a lot of stuff to kind of juggle. It's going pretty good. We have we got sort of the, like I said, right now it's sort of the start of it. We haven't officially launched yet. That's in about 15 days from this video. And we have, if you follow now, there's like the quick start rules, which is like 20 pages. Just sort of a general kind of give you a taste of it. And then early support or whatever, early sign up. We put in the Unhinged Arcade 𝗥𝗶𝗰𝗵𝗿𝗀.
Mm.
So that's like for early backing, and that's an extra little add-on we're doing. And basically that one I think is kind of fun because it's we had, well, you
It's
both might
cool.
know this too. We had a lot of mechanics that let's say they really swung the game in a different way.
Yes.
So we kind of were like, well, these are neat, but they're kind of wild swings. So you got to have this decision point of like, do we want to use these or not? So we took those and put them into what we called the unhinged arcana, and we're like, if you use these, here's the craziest critical charts we have, and here's some really scary cursed items, and yeah, things like that. So that's our unhinged arcana. Yeah.
We'll put it like this, because we are very excited about this. We've reserved our spot. Look at
We
that.
have.
It's all reserved.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, we've reserved because I can't wait. I'm really excited about getting my hands on this. I mean, and you've been great. We've actually seen a lot of it. We've read bits. I've actually going through some things in the background, and I love it. So I'm going to pass over to Dean, because Dean wants to ask you about some of the things that have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And from when we originally did the deep dive.
Yep.
And then afterwards, I would love to ask you a bit about your experience with Backerkit and going through, all the decisions that you had to make about whether you use Kickstarter, Backerkit. I think there's Indiegogo, there's GameFound, there's all these different ones. What drew you to Backerkit, and some of the trials and tribulations you've had, because it's not easy for an indie, and I think it would be a great thing to explore, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Shall I kick it off with the last time we
yes.
spoke, you'd, I believe, just sent out your first set of rules for feedback, and you were getting all that feedback in, and you were talking about a version 2. So my sort of interest here is, what was the feedback like? Sorry, I've got a cat that's just being a little bit of a pain. There we go. What was the feedback like, and were there many changes to version 2?
Yes. So yeah, I think we sent out, I think it was right around Christmas Eve that I sent out the version 2 of the playtest. So basically we had version 1, version 2, and then now the version attached, the quick start attached to the Backerkit right now, it sort of like has some of the edits that we had. So a lot of it, the feedback was really good. There was a lot of very positive feedback. And when you're designing something, you both probably know this as well. That's like, oh, that's good, but you also want, like, yeah, well, thanks very much, but poke holes in something so I can fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was really cool to hear that. A lot of the feedback, there were what my friend Matt and I were calling very small, like little, like patching little micro leaks, let's say. Or someone would say, I really love all this, and then it'd be like, this seems a little off and that seems a little off. So a lot of really micro rule tweaks. The biggest change that we had, like I would call that sort of tightening the bolts. That's more of what we called it. But the biggest change we had was classes. In our original 2 playtests, we kind of we were trying to experiment with the classes, quote unquote, were really just mostly, especially the fighter and rogue type, were sort of like a stacking, what we would call like a widget. So it's like you can do this, and as you take levels in this, that gets better. So it's like a linear progression. Whereas a lot of games, like when in D&D models of games, they might have more of an exponential progression where it's like at level 3 you get a feat or something like that. We more have like a linear progression of you're good at it, you get a little better, you get a little better, you get a little better. So anyway, our original ones were like very super succinct, and we had a lot of feedback from people that they wanted a little more meat and potatoes to the class. They wanted classes to have a little more character. And we're looking at that, we're like, oh, okay. Now, you got to look at it as well. We probably had about 2 years or more where we had gone through, like, we basically had the open playtest for playtest 1 and 2. For about 2 years before that, we had a lot of, like, I guess you would call it internal playtesting, but I playtested with friends of mine. I playtested with some of the playtesters at Larian when I worked there. Playtested all that stuff. So we did have variable builds and styles of classes. Anyway, so I kind of went back and dug into those, and so the quick start rules now has 4 of our 24 classes that we're going to have. And that's probably the biggest change. And I think it's a lot of what we did in the initial was, I would call it very DM focused. So it's like, this will make the game run smooth and fast. And this will allow you to make monsters smooth and fast, and they'll work. And this will allow you to do that, because I'm a lifelong DM, so a lot of it is like, how do we make this run? But anyway, yes. So the classes, I think, give players, that's sort of our player side. We're like, yeah, let's expand that a bit. So that's like the biggest change, and I think the most interesting part of that is we're really trying to give each of the classes sort of a play style, so they feel very different. It's not like this is a fighter plus they have a trick, and then this is still a fighter plus they have a trick. It's more of like these play very differently,
Nice.
for as much as we can. Yeah. So anyway, that's me babbling, but
That's okay. Yeah.
No, I love that. I absolutely love that, because from a player perspective, and like both of you, I tend to play more than I GM. I love having lots of different classes that allow you to explore that. So that's fantastic.
yeah.
So the main feedback then being that the classes, the players wanted a bit more from the classes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's positive. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, the minor ones were like, we had a certain way of doing initiative, which we called like icebreaker initiative. So it's basically, in the original iteration, it was basically every character rolls a save, and if your save is successful, you go before the opponents. If you fail your save, you go after the opponents. And then the DM can always apply advantage or disadvantage to that. Essentially, we call them boons and banes.
Yeah.
So they can apply advantage or disadvantage if you're either ambushed or if you have surprise. And that sort of gives you 2 groups, like the group that goes before, the group that goes after, assuming you have, a split in the group, unless everybody rolls the same. So people seem to really like that. On the DM side, it's very easy, because the players roll, the players know if they go first or second. All the players who go first can decide, like, I'll do this and then you can do that, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So to me, it was a nice compromise, and a lot of people liked that. We did a small tweak to that, just sort of numbers wise, to even out the chances. So there were a lot of tiny things like that, just little tweaks that people were asking for.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you pleased with how the feedback went and the changes that you're making?
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually pleased to the point of surprised, to because we've gotten really, like I said, it's hard to say when, like I said, when you say good feedback. I guess to separate the two, there's very positive feedback of like, I really like this, right? Like, so that's sort of category one. And as you both know, that's super exciting to hear, because you're like, okay, the design we made is working. And then I guess in my head, what I'm thinking of as good feedback is when somebody really goes, this seems off, or this mechanic is, it's too open-ended and it's going to spiral out of control. Right? So to me, that's that's good feedback in terms of, that helps us know what to improve. So we had a lot of that constructive feedback, I guess, to do that. But I was actually quite surprised that generally everything sort of held together quite well. One thing that surprised us the most was our monster builder. We had a lot of people, like, because it's such a simple little system, they're like, oh, I'll make some monsters and I'll use them in my game. And surprisingly, they just are very balanced. And I only say surprisingly, like, it's not like we didn't put the work in to try to make sure they make sense and they're pretty accurate. Like, so we did a lot of work on our creature cauldron, we called it, or a monster builder, and we took a lot of time. One of the things we used as the starting basis was like basically first edition AD&D basic. A lot of the stat blocks for monsters are very similar between those two editions, if not exactly the same, through basic and through first edition. The stat blocks are very close for the monsters. So that sort of is what we built upon in terms of looking at the general monster math, let's say, kind of thing. Because we figured people have been using this system for 50 years, and we're sort of designing our classes to be balanced against those original classes, because we always had the idea of like, it would be cool to play, you could play one of our characters, our character classes, with any of the old modules, relatively speaking. So we kind of built upon that. But yeah, it was very, like I said, when you do a lot of work and then you're like, it actually worked.
Yeah.
It's still surprising, because you're like, because a lot of things are like, it can be very painful to go through the iterations, and we were like, this is a tricky one. So there will probably be some iterations, and it really surprised us that it was like, people were kind of reporting back, and they were like, it was really scary, but really tight, because there's that fine line of like, if it's a little over the edge, then the party dies and it's just like a wipeout, and you're sort of off that way. But if it's too low, it's sort of boring. It's sort of a pillow fight, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we always beat the monster. So there's a sweet spot, I think, where the dice kind of so it's like the dice are swinging it more than the stack, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
So it's sweet spot. So we were pretty happy with that, and it surprised us, as you know from game design, that it was like that works really well. Now that said, we put months of work into trying to get that right. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was one of the surprising good pieces of feedback, or like
Oh,
positive.
fantastic. Yeah.
It worked. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. I've seen, and we've been through that, sort of trying to balance all the monsters. But Richard, don't discount the fact that you've got experience on your side. You've played these games, you've got an understanding from a GM perspective, and you've got people from a player perspective. And I think that experience counts for a lot. I know Dean and I spoke the other day, and we said that we might have had more energy for doing this 20 years ago, but I don't think we had the experience to pull together what we've pulled together now. Sort of just thinking about that, would you agree that that's sensible, or would you just say, nah, we're just all old and we just want to pretend that that's the way it should be?
No, I think it's definite. Like I said, my buddy Matt, he's a physicist, and the weird part is there's a part you can look at it and let's say it's scientific, right? So it's like, here's the math, and here's how that math plays out, and then there's in the field, right? Like in actual play, and there's so many variants to that, because you can be like, the math works for this, but it's boring at the table, or the math works for this, but it feels wrong at the table. Like there's so many different things, and I think the inverse of that, where like if you've ran a lot of games, if you've played a lot of games, you get that feeling, and even if you've seen a lot of different mechanics, like it makes you go, remember that cool mechanic from that game? What if it was something like that and we used it over here for this different thing? So yeah, there's a mixture of that. It's not just that raw design. I think that's like anything. Like if you love all kinds of music, it probably can really inform you making music. So that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I think I've seen that, and I've seen it. Looking at the work that you've done in it. I mean, we all know it's beautiful, but it makes sense and it flows. And when you look at it like that, you can see the effort that's gone into it. And I think that's what will hold it up. I think that's exactly what will hold it, heads and shoulders above some other games that might be out there, because you have crunched the numbers, but then you've done that feel. And it's exactly what we've always said. And Dean says a lot. He goes, well, the numbers worked, but that just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually resulted in a lot of the changes in our game throughout the process. So, it's actually comforting to hear you say that.
Yeah, the one I always used to use as an example was if you had a mechanic like parry, right? Like you're gonna parry a blow. You could easily do a mechanic where you're like, this gives you +2 to your armor class. But that feels very passive, or it feels very like, that's sort of like putting on a helmet, or something. you want pari to be a roll of some sort or a counter roll. So
Yeah.
so I think it's natural. As a game designer, you might look at it and be like, what's the proper math for that? And then, but from a player perspective, they're like, I want to roll something though. I want to know that I succeeded or not. I want to, roll a success or try it. And then
Yeah.
you have to +2 to armor class and convert it to like a random variable average outcome, blah, 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 blah. And which you can do, but it's like, again, you're into like, okay, let's go back to the forge.
Yeah.
Build a new piece,
Yeah, I think you'll appreciate the fact that Dean keeps going to us, I should really reduce the damage dice. And there's all of the players going, you touch those damage dice, we're going to take your typewriter off you.
Yeah. I've
like-
had so many players go, no, I've chosen this class because at top levels, I get to roll 16 damage dice and I want to roll all those dice.
Yeah, we like rolling dice as players like it. So don't you touch them. And
Yeah.
I don't think you've had anybody who's played say otherwise.
No.
So yeah, we completely understand that feel of at the table. It does make such a difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
And that
connected
feedback is
to-
necessary.
Yeah. And I think it's connected. I still remember back in high school, when, and this is this particular moment, a friend of mine had his magic user, and he had finally gotten to, what was it, 5th level or something. He was able to get a fireball spell. And it was the first time he was casting a fireball spell, and he got to roll the dice and let's see, like, and rolling the dice and like a chunk of dice and putting it all together. It was like that's a particular feeling. It's not just math. You could have calculated it and said you do X plus level plus intelligence damage, right? But the fact that you roll a bunch of dice, this feeling of like, I need to borrow a couple of your D6s because this fireball is huge. Just makes it super fun.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. So it sounds like your feedback's been fantastic, and you've been able to roll in some very good changes to the system based now on a wider audience playing the game, and that's the dream, because even we play tested with friends and we've gone slightly wider, but until you get it out in the true wilds, everybody probably knows how you play and will have their feedback tempered in that way. But giving it to strangers, that's the real test. Yeah.
Yep. That is a huge, it's always a struggle too, a huge part in writing the rules. Because like you said, it's almost you can easily get like your own jargon or your own sort of assumed or internalized way of doing it. And we've tackled a thing too that we've lately been clarifying, which I guess you would call phraseology, where you get sort of a when you write so many rules, there begins to be almost like functions, right? Like if you wrote a spell and it was, you could write save, fireball does X damage, targets within blast radius must save for half damage, right? Like that kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, you have another spell. It's like targets within influence of druid or dryad's charm must save or blah blah blah, right? So you begin to pick up these what we called like phraseology, which I think is what you would call it, and sort of be like, okay, these need to be consistent, and we need to tighten these up. And one of my friend Clark, who's helping us work on this, is actually a language arts teacher. And he's been helpful in that way, because especially with me, because he's like, you have to tighten up your phraseology, art guy.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, teach.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. This is often I will have a batch of spells done, and then we'll do some play testing, and I think, right, I've got some ideas for new spells. I go back and I start typing, and then I kind of stop. I go, oh, hang on, how did I phrase this before? I've got to be consistent. So you're going back to your old spells to make sure the language is the same, and the phrasing is identical. So you got that kind of non-confusing way of
guiding people.
Yeah, guiding people. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's even small little things where, like if there's something, if there's like a spell or effect or something that could basically target, let's say it could be a creature, a person, or even an object, then you might use the term target. If it's something that is sort of works, it's usually like, say, a buff thing, you might, instead of target, use the term ally, like grant an ally.
Yeah.
Or targets within radius is like generally anybody within radius. Grant an ally something, or foes within. And we went through that where it was like, is it opponent? Is it enemy? Is it foe? And we're like, well, foe is 3 letters, so that'll make a tighter thing. So all kinds of little things like that you go through that isn't even classically grammatically like a grammatical check. It's like I said, game terminology, game phraseology that you're defining as you go, and it's fascinating, but it's another chunk of like invisible work that I think people don't see. Yeah.
The time that it takes is actually, it's almost, you take the time for developing the game and double it for the time to make sure your language is right, that all of those bits. It seems to take just as long to get all of that right. And I know we underestimated it, didn't we, Dean?
Oh, we did heavily underestimated just how much time and effort that process takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think it's just reading through and just making some corrections, but it's not. It's reading through, then reading through again, then making those changes. Those changes take time, then you read through again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again and again.
And again.
And again. Yeah. And then even then when you go to print, there's a mistake.
Yes. Yes. And we've sort of worked that too. We have, like, my friend Matt and I are probably the first, let's call it like raw review, where he writes stuff or I write stuff, and we toss it back and forth. And then my friend Clark will give it like more of a read through and an editing pass. And then I have another friend who's more sort of an editor and stuff too. She's going to help do the next layer, the after Clark pass, and then we'll have Andrew from Andrew 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗜 also doing a pass, and he is also a teacher, but he also knows the game mechanics and things like that more as well. So it's this layering, and it's also really hard to sort of editing pass yourself, which I think most people know, because you'll make a mistake and then your head will just skim over it and go like, yeah, that's right,
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
But that's why I'm going through everything, and I've taken it off Dean, because At the point where it comes to me, I can go through it because I haven't been as involved in the mechanics. I won't necessarily assume something. So I will pick up that. But you're right, you need those layers. I like that though. The thing is you've got teachers. Do they get out the red pen, Richard? So Richard, you're out on Backerkit, but we all know that there's lots of different platforms that we can use. There's like Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, GameFound, I think, is a fairly recent one that's out doing stuff in the TTRPG market. So give us a little insight. What drew you to Backerkit, and what sort of lessons have you sort of picked up going through this process?
Okay. Well, first of all, as I said, I'm partnering with Andrew 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗜 from 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗜 Publishing, and the reason I was partnering with Andrew was essentially on this. I have my friends working with me on the actual book itself, but the majority of like the narrative writing, the writing mechanics, doing artwork, laying it out, like all of that guts of the book, I'm doing all that. So I basically was like, I need to partner with someone to help to organize the Backerkit, because I have never done one before, or the crowdfunder. I've never done a crowdfunder before. The printing, like I know a fair amount about it. Like I've sort of been in graphic design and printing and that type of stuff for quite a few years, but someone else, that also lets me know I know how much there is to take care of there. And then the fulfillment, which I knew very little about, right? Like using a fulfillment company or fulfilling it yourself, with that kind of thing. So when I partnered with Andrew, I said, basically, if you can help with crowdfunding, handle printing, and fulfillment, then that would be super helpful for me. So and he was like, that sounds great. So we sort of partnered up. And so he kind of took me through, he's done 14 or more different crowdfunders over a few years. So we started with, Backerkit versus Kickstarter versus any other, system. And I think basically right now there's a couple things, but I think Kickstarter to me was always it's sort of the some of the biggest tabletop crowdfunders have been through Kickstarter. Backerkit in recent years has started to, they're really interested in getting more indie tabletop creators on their platform currently. So they've sort of put out a few more things, or designed their system in a certain way that incentivizes that a little bit. There is, like right now, there's the Goodman Games. Goodman Games is sort of the biggest one, but they have like a mega dungeon promotion.
Yeah.
And creators can kind of get on board of that. So they have these sort of like group promotions. The structure between Kickstarter and Backerkit is a little different. Kickstarter has more strict, I guess, like this is tier 1, this is tier 2, this is tier 3 to your campaign. Backerkit allows for, here's tier 1, 2, 3, but also here are add-on bits. So I can take tier 2 and pick a couple of little add-ons. So they have like an a la carte kind of function.
Nice.
So I'm trying to be kind of specific. So if anyone out there is doing their game, when they get to this part, they can kind of decide for themselves. I would say now Kickstarter is probably more recognized. I would say, like, it's sort of the bigger fish in the pond. But in walking through it with Andrew, he had kind of made the transition from Kickstarter to Backerkit at one point. So yeah, I would say that was the big thing, the sort of like add-on a la carte sort of incentive stuff, the campaigns. Their service is really good, like their sort of customer service. Now, I haven't used Kickstarter myself, so I don't have 100% comparative, like, Kickstarter customer service versus Backerkit. But I can say that the folks we've talked to and worked with at Backerkit are really great. They're quick to reply. They'll help you out with things. They'll even give you good suggestions. They'll be like, here's sort of a template you could use for this, or here's a campaign that's doing this right now. So you can, and they did a really good job. So you can look at them and see how they're doing it, and maybe sort of structure it that way. Yeah. So it's pretty good that way. So yeah, the main divide right now with Backerkit, I would say, Kickstarter is sort of this would be the decision if you're an indie creator. Kickstarter is sort of the more recognized platform. Backerkit, I think, is nipping at their heels, and because of that, Backerkit offers some incentives for creators right now in order that they're doing that so they can kind of up their competition against Kickstarter. So that's I think, and mainly too, I'm talking about it like I'm an expert or something, but I'm not. I'm sort of filtering through how Andrew explained it to me, Like, so it's like, okay. And I've learned a ton myself over just the last short bit of how all this works. And it's like fascinating, but I see that as the like, with you both have set up on Twitter, sort of the indie game group.
Yeah.
That to me, it's like, that's perfect. I think people who have experiences, like I'm going through this whole process from start to finish for the first time. So I think forums like that, where people can just say, I'm thinking of doing this, I have questions, that's a good spot for that, especially when they hit a specific thing and say, I have a specific question about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree. So therefore, I'm going to swoop in and say, and for all of you, that's the Indie Game Guild on X. We're growing. We basically use it as a way for all of us indies to come together to increase our voice, so that we can get bigger reach. We can support each other, and people who like indies can come along and see what we're all doing as well. So if you're on X, come along, join. It's free. It's a community on X. So please come along, join us. We've got an indie game list, so that lists lots of creators. So for example, Richard's on there, we're on there. There's lots of others, small indies on there, so you can have a look. So yeah, come and join us. Look at that. Got to get that in now, Richard. Thanks for that.
See that? That's like in volleyball, it's like setting for the spike.
It was perfectly done.
It was absolutely perfectly done. And it's quite funny that you mention about Backerkit, because of course, because we went onto it to look at yours, I had a good look around, and they are really pushing indie games. And it's a lot easier to find them than I find on Kickstarter. Is just my initial impression that I had from going through it. And it does seem as if exactly what you said, which is they seem to be pushing indie TTRPGs. They seem to be supporting them, which I think is really nice.
Yeah. Yep. Like, I think the latest one that's going now, the Mega Dungeon campaign. And like I said, I think some of the headline sort of stuff probably the biggest one is Goodman Games. I think Ghostfire Gaming is in there
Yeah,
too.
Troll Lord
Yeah.
Games are doing their 𝗂𝗪𝗖𝗍 gig part 2 through the Mega
Through that.
Dungeon as well.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And that's sort of a, there's sort of a group thing there. You can be part of that. Even as a small indie creator, you can sort of connect onto that, headliners and then sort of go, who else is participating in this? And you can sort of tag onto there. And I think you made a really good point there too, Vicky. Basically, there's, I guess you would call it like a smaller catalog in
Yeah.
Backerkit. So you can stand out within that catalog, which reminds me of the, panning through Netflix. Right?
Yes.
It's like, I appreciate all the choices, but I'd lost 3 hours of my life going through.
I'm being offered the same thing multiple times, and you're just like, look, I've scrolled away from it because I'm not interested in it. I think Kickstarter suffers that as well, where it keeps promoting stuff, and you're like, well, I'm not interested in that. Show me other stuff, and you get through the quagmire of just so many options on there that you don't get to see all of them. You don't get to browse properly, and that is really annoying. Yeah.
I think that's the same with so many places, though. We see it on streaming services, as we slightly digress. We see it on different crowdfunding sites, that they go, no, this is what you're interested in. You go, I want to look myself.
Yeah. Give me an old-fashioned shelf in a shop with everything on the shelf, so I can start at one end and just go down that shelf and have a look at what you've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, that sounds pretty fascinating, because, of course, we're going to be having to make a decision on which platform we use. So it's really interesting, Richard, understanding your thought process and your decision-making behind this. And I'm sure any indie that's watching this interview will be eager to understand that as well. But that's going live 14, when this video comes out on YouTube, about 14, 15 days before it goes live. How long is the campaign going to run for?
We decided on, that's another, and I think we can hit two things that might be interesting to indie game people. Andrew kind of recommended we go for 3 weeks. And you can do them for 4 weeks. You could do them for 5 weeks, probably. You could, extend it out. But like I said, he's done quite a few, crowdfunders. And basically you have, when you launch, this is what he was saying to me anyway. Like I said, this is my first time through it too, but he was saying when you launch, you have the initial excitement, and then you have like sort of word spread and stuff like that too, and you get into week 2, but you get sort of a lag in the middle, and then it's almost like the clock is on now for people who are undecided. And we've all had this, I think, where you're like, oh, if I want this, there's only 3 more days to get it, right? So you might call it fear of missing out or whatever, but it's like the campaign's ending. So it tends to be sort of this curve of like excitement at the beginning, so you'll get backers, and then it kind of dips, and then towards the end, people will be like, I do want that, I better get it. Right?
Yeah.
Like procrastinator, which I can identify with. So in that kind of curve, Andrew was saying 3 weeks he thinks is really good, because that way you don't get a really deep lag in the middle. It's sort of a nice curve. He said sometimes when he's gone longer, you just get sort of a big lag in the middle, and it's like, that's
Loses momentum.
Yes, exact. Momentum is the perfect way to
all the early adopters have adopted. All the people who are indecisive have yet to decide, and you have a week or 2 when nothing happens. And the shorter that period, that makes perfect sense. It really does. I'm just wondering, I don't know whether Backerkit supports this, but will you be using late pledges once the campaign's done?
I'm not sure yet. Andrew would know that. We are I'll have to look into that. I don't know. Um, I hope so. I know we are planning on, basically we'll have the book in the different, like versions of the book and add-on materials that we basically are going to migrate that to drive through RPG after.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, for creators, I think there's things to be careful of there as well, because the people who back the actual crowdfunder, you always want them to be front of the line,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you should get your book first. You should get the PDFs or any other materials as soon as it's available, that kind of thing. So you have to be a little careful of when you, like, can this be wider public release? It's at first, because I think the backers, the people who support you right in that initial of it are sort of like top of your Christmas list, right? Like they have
Yeah.
to be there. Yeah.
You've got to treat them really special. They've taken the risk to back you up earlier,
Yes.
and to pledge to support you. And then if they have to wait to get there as well, so other people can just pop onto drive through, that's not a pleasant taste to leave in their mouths. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So
I
that's-
think that's wise.
Yep. And the other part, which now this is a part where I won't go into depth on it, because you could go crazy into a crazy depth of how detailed it is. And there's also a lot of dependencies on what country you're in and what countries you can go. But yeah, with the printing and fulfillment, like I would say broadly, you can, if you went with a traditional printer, that gives you a wide range of sort of things that you can do in printing. But typically traditional printers don't do fulfillment.
Yeah.
What they do is, not many printers have built-in fulfillment, I should say. What they do is here's your 10 million books you wanted printed. Where do you want them shipped?
Yep.
They'll do that part, and they'll all show up in your garage.
Yeah.
So, and then you're either doing like hand fulfillment, or you're using some type of fulfillment company. And then there are some printers who actually fulfillment and printing, and that's probably country dependent. And then where they fulfill to, right? Like a U.S. company might we can fulfill in U.S. and Canada, but they won't do U.K. or Australia, or that kind of thing. Other places in Europe. So there's a whole bunch there. And so to me, it's like, if indie creators are wondering about that stuff, it's almost like mentioning it is good. It's really hard to give advice on it, because it's so dependent on where you're at, where you might want to fulfill to, what kind of availability of printers you have. But it's definitely something, to sort of scope out for indie creators.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work scoping that out. Don't underestimate the time it takes to do that. It's I know when I started looking into it, and I'm gonna have to pick that one up again. It's massive. It's absolutely humongous, and you can really go down rabbit holes with it as well.
Oh yeah, yep. And there's always pitfalls to be careful of too. And I wouldn't say, like, obviously there's things like, oh, that might be a scam, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're all used to nowadays looking out for that. But also things that are kind of on the edge, where it's like, well, this service seems to do what I want it to do, and it's like, yeah, but if you know this, there's a way cheaper way to do that, and more above. So there's sort of layers to that too. And like I said, it's so dependent on where you might be, I guess, printing from, or
Yeah.
or where you're originating your printing from. So yeah, that's a tricky one, and it's probably the hardest to sort of give flat advice on, because it depends on everything from where you're at, what kind of book or product are you printing. There's differences between there's soft cover, hard cover, but there's also, we want a DM screen. It's like, oh, that might be a totally different production box set. Like
Yeah.
boxes and DM screens are a whole different type
Even
of
your book
production.
binding. Yeah. Do you want stitch bound? Do you want it glued? Do you want it? It's like so much to do, isn't there?
Yeah. Yep. All kinds of little decision points. Yeah. And then what fits, with what you're doing. Yep.
Yeah. It sounds incredibly complicated. Hopefully 𝗂𝗫𝗧 are there to guide you through that and to take a lot of the pain out of it, which would be great. I mean, we're looking to, we love our hardback books, absolutely love them. So we're looking to get the hardback book. I'm just hoping the shipping costs aren't going to be so expensive.
I'll tell you when the spreadsheet is done.
Yes.
The spreadsheets.
Yeah, we want to be games designers, but we live going, but that's £2.50, and that's, but times that.
Yeah.
That is a question actually that I haven't asked, and I am going to ask, which is, on Backerkit, have you got a retailer's sort of tier? So if there are anyone out there who wants to pop your books in their shop, have you got a retailer tier?
We do. Yep. That's the, let's say, the top tier or whatever, biggest tier. And that's the structure of that. We basically went, essentially it's sort of like just PDF, softcover, hardcover, and then I believe it's roughly hardcover with some add-ons kind of thing, or hardcover package. And then we sort of a tier that sort of like buy like a few books for your group, right? Like 4 books and this and that. And then there's like retailer tier, which is, I want to order some for my store or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that we, and I think I actually suggested that. So I was like, I can claim one point of knowing something. So I was like, oh, maybe we should put that, and that's been pretty cool too, because there's a few people who have play tested for us, and they actually own stores. So I was like, well, at least for those folks, we want a retailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for us, it was, I think it was the Swansea Games Emporium that said, look, you always want to make sure you have a retailer tier. It was something I'd never even considered. I didn't know anything about it. So, and Swansea Games Emporium have been absolutely fantastic with us. And, they're great supporters. So I think that things like retailer tiers are really important, because especially when you've got supporters out there that will be able to stock your game, and your game's beautiful. So certainly if I had a shop, I'd want it on my shelves.
Yeah. And it feels like one of those things where because I'd been researching it, and I was like, retailer tier? Oh yeah. Like, it was like, you should have. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I'm sure there's probably some folks who have their own stores or whatever who are like, yeah, put that in. Like that actually makes, because I don't think a retailer would naturally initially think like, oh, here's a cool crowdfunder. I might order 20 of these or something. But when you have that retailer tier, it's sort of like, oh yeah, okay, they're set up for this. It's such a weird little light bulb, but totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, is there? Just thinking, we've talked about shipping. I mean, shipping is another complete nightmare, isn't it? So, within fulfillment, you never know what shipping costs are going to be, and that depends on where it's flying around the world.
And where it's printed. If
Yeah.
you got the opportunity to partner with someone who can do local printing in different areas of the globe, then it can kind of reduce your shipping. But I don't think there's many people who do that. So you're then dealing with multiple printers and tripling or quadrupling the work you've got to do. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're also splitting your print runs, right? So
Yeah.
it's basically
So you're not getting the returns.
Yep. Yep. It's the how many different like once the printer's fired up, the more copies you do, the cheaper each copy becomes. But if there's 3 different printers in different parts of the world, you're getting less copies, and they'll charge you more per copy. So it's a game in of itself. Yep.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It is. I think that's one of the things I'd like to highlight around when you're an indie creator like we all are. Not only are you games writers, artists, designers, but we're also working out shipping. We're also working out so many other different cogs in this massive business, and it's really interesting. It's good fun, but it's the sort of stuff that you don't think about and that creeps up. So the fact you've got 𝗂𝗫𝗧𝗜𝗓 Publishing on board must be a bit of a relief for you, because you can at least get them to do some of that stuff.
It's such a huge relief, especially with even in what I'm doing now, and you both know this. You're commissioning art, for example. So there's a certain aspect to commissioning art, figure out what art you need, things like that. In my case, I'm doing the art as well. Kind of thing. So this and the cartography, and and my friend Pat is helping with a lot of stuff now too, especially some really cool cartography stuff and things like that. So that helps.
That's cool.
But yeah, it would be, if I tried to do it all myself, it would be completely overwhelming. I would be more mad than I am now, in terms of insane.
Yes.
not angry mad, but crazy.
I don't know. You don't have to be mad to be an indie game designer, but it helps.
Absolutely. Yes.
Or you don't have to be mad to be an indie game designer. Or I think there's a goblin in the corner watching me.
Totally.
He helps me.
Yes. Well,
I think I'm going to. I think I've just had a revelation, Richard. We should also set up. So we've got Indie Game Guild, right? We've got the Indie Game Spotlight. We should also have the Indie Game Designers Therapy Group.
Run by the indie game goblins.
Run by the indie game goblins, yes.
I volunteer to draw little headshot portraits if you need them.
Fantastic. We'll sign you up.
Yeah.
Didn't you just increase your to-do list again?
Yeah.
Well, I got to be honest. This has been.
That's okay.
Yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic, because I'm so glad it's going well for you, Richard. I'm so glad the feedback has been fantastic. It sounds like you got everything as under control as these projects can be. And 𝗂𝗫𝗧𝗜𝗓 sounds like a really good partner to help you for this. So I, for one, am really looking forward to when your project goes live on Backerkit, and hopefully seeing those numbers go up and seeing people back you.
Hope so. We'll see.
We're reserved. We're reserved.
I know. But I know how nerve-wracking it can be. So I'll be thinking of you when you go live, and we'll be doing our push at our end to get people to Backerkit.
And I promise I'll spell it properly.
Yes, spell Ruttigers properly.
Yeah. No, that's
I call myself an editor.
That's my fault for my weird name, but it grew on me. So I'm like, Ruttigers it is.
I love Ruttigers.
It's fine. It's great.
Absolutely love it. I have no idea how an E suddenly turned into an A in my head, but it did.
That's the
See, my
pirate
last
version.
name is-
Ruttigers.
Yeah, that was what was that? Somebody asked one day, how do you pronounce it? And I think I made it where it was like, well, in this part of the world they say Ruttigers, and in this part of the world they say Ruttigers, and in this part they say Ruttiger, right? And it's like people have died for saying it wrong, but no one agrees on how to say it correctly.
Brilliant.
No, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yep.
Well, thank
I
you
make
so
fun
much
of
for
me when
joining
I'm-
us.
Well,
Sorry
thank you
about
for
that.
having me. It was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime, Richard, any project, anything at all, we love talking to you. It's always enjoyable, and it's just so nice to talk to a fellow indie creator, but one who can also draw and doesn't do my level of stick insects, because, yeah, we'd love to be able to do our own artwork, but yeah, I don't think anyone would buy mine.
No.
I'm surprised people buy mine. So
Oh, we love
there's
yours.
there's a charm to your art, Richard. It's
Really.
absolutely delightful. Yeah.
thank you.